Good morning, 9th and 10th grade English 1. So I'm back to talk about your research paper. Hopefully you're coming along well with that. Normally we would have had your paper to be due this week, but we're giving you one more week, so it's not due until the following week, and I suppose if you kind of want to push that, you won't need to hand it in until the following weekend, even though it would be nice if you could be getting that in. As many as you can be getting that in this weekend. All right, I just want to talk a little bit about acknowledging your sources. I had one question come up about that, and I don't think I've done as good a job at explaining that as I could have, and that possibly was because I'm not sure I understood it as well as I should have. So let's go back to page 16 in your language arts book, and I'll just try to quickly give you a few pointers to help us understand this. All right, so you're on page 16, acknowledging your sources. So here was the question I had. So how do I know what to acknowledge and what not to acknowledge? I mean, everything I'm learning, I didn't know before, so I'm getting it from somebody. So it's like I would need to acknowledge the whole paper, every sentence, or every part of it. That's a good question. That's a really good question. So, how do you know? Well, I had a visit with my good friend Stephen Russell, who teaches out at Faith Builders, and he actually teaches writing, and they have a class, writing and research. And so he teaches this, and I knew that, so I talked to him. And he said, you know, that's a common problem that students feel when they're, particularly if they're kind of beginning in this kind of thing. So, number one, his point was, it's usually better to acknowledge more than you need to than less. But the fact is, you don't need to acknowledge everything. So, how do you decide? So here's what the rule is. You don't need to acknowledge information that is considered general knowledge. Now, I know you're going to be saying, well, I didn't know it. It's not general. It's not like everyone knows this. But there are still things that are considered general knowledge that isn't unique to the knowledge of the author you happen to be reading. So here's what I have up here. Something that is common knowledge doesn't need to be cited, or acknowledged, maybe is a better word. So here's the test. So you're supposed to be getting information from 5 sources. This is a general test, but if you can find information, the same information in all 5 of those sources, then you're looking at common knowledge. So for example, if you're writing about a particular event, and everyone mentions when this happened, the dates, everyone mentions who maybe the world leaders were that were involved, when they were born or when they died. That's common knowledge. It isn't unique to the particular author that you're looking at. So what does need to be acknowledged? What needs to be acknowledged So anytime someone does work in discovery, so scientific work, or does study in a particular field, and they publish their work. So if you've done some study of some sort, and you've gone to libraries and courthouses, and you've done a lot of work to uncover this stuff, and now you're publishing what you've spent a lot of time working on. And this isn't stuff that just anybody or most people even know. That needs to be acknowledged. So the specific knowledge or opinions of an author that you're finding in one of your books that you don't find in the others, that's the stuff that needs to be acknowledged. Now remember, we talked about how it's plagiarism even to copy the style in which information is written. So if you take notes carefully and just try to get general ideas, even this common knowledge, you could still be guilty of plagiarism if you copy their style of how they wrote it, sentence structure, and even words that they use. If you're using nearly identical style, even if you change a word or two, but the style is nearly identical, that still can be plagiarism. But if you do your job and simply take the knowledge in, take notes by just kind of grabbing main points, and then you write it in your own style, and it's common information, you don't need to acknowledge all those. But make sure if you find something unique in one of the books, information that this author seems to have done work on that maybe is not just common knowledge, that's the kind of thing that you should acknowledge. And we went over how you go about the acknowledging process. It's good you aren't here to get that sneeze, isn't it? Okay, so you hopefully have worked on your rough draft, and then you need to do your revising and editing, and they give you a whole bunch of examples here on page 20 of how to go through and edit, and where was that? In the back, I believe, on how to use proofreader marks. So you have this that can help you know how to do your proofreading. Yes, you will be graded on how well you do with editing. If you look on the grade sheet, revising and editing is part way down. So if you look right here, you have revising and editing right there. And the question it's asking, does it have good changes thinking about content? Did you really do a good job? And 8th grade, their point there was that, or did the student just kind of hurry through and made very few changes? So, depends if you were thoughtful in your revision. And I tell you, even the best writers typically have to do heavy editing. The only person I have ever heard of that hardly needed to edit their work at all is Thomas Aquinas. Supposedly, his mind worked so well, and he could think so quickly, he dictated to 3 different scribes. So he would dictate one sentence to scribe 1, his next sentence to scribe 2, and his third sentence to scribe 3. It's because he would dictate so quickly that they could only, it took 3 people to write it down as fast as he would talk or dictate. And then when he got bound ready for sentence 4, scribe 1 was ready to write again. And his mind was so well, he thought so well, and he had thought through what he wanted to say so carefully that there was very little revision needed. So, but anyway, most of us aren't geniuses like Thomas Aquinas. I'm fascinated by the man. I'd like to get to know him better. So, I'm a hopeless case. I keep getting new heroes and keep wanting to find out more about new people. I wish one of you would have done a research paper on Thomas Aquinas. So, anyway, more of that. Now, you're going to work on your final copy then. Try to make it look as much as possible like they have it here. So, when you hand your paper in, what should we find? Alright? So you're going to hand in all of your note cards. Your note cards should have bibliography cards as a part of them. It would be nice if they would be organized in the packets of your sources. So everything you got from certain book or certain article or certain magazine, keep that together. And yes, I will look at every card. Then you need your final outline cover page. Let's see, I think there's a place that this 8th grade had to hand in their rough outline. I'm not seeing that right now. But check that out. It's possible. Didn't we do a rough outline too? See, if you were here, you could be raising your hand and helping me with this. So, where choosing a topic. All right. Well, I'm not sure if maybe you didn't do that. You have the workings of bibliography. Yeah, lesson 3, the preliminary outline. So thesis statement and preliminary outline. I would like to see that preliminary outline. And so that's going to be in your book on page 8. So here's what you're going to need to do. When this whole project comes in, you are going to need to hand in your book. So some of this stuff is going to be in the book, and that's one of them. This preliminary outline should be on page 8. So I'll find it there, so you didn't hand it in specifically. But what you do need to hand in, besides your book that's all completed, you'll need to hand in all your note cards, and again, hopefully in order. You'll need the cover page. Then you will need your completed outline that's shown on page 22. And that needs to begin with your thesis statement and your completed outline. And then you should also hand in your rough draft that has all your editing on it. And then finally, your completed paper. And then the last page in your completed paper needs to have this bibliography, works cited, and that will conclude your paper. Now, just one more thing I want to say. This is more pretty much FYI. But we talked about how you are being taught from the MLA standard. Now, Modern Language Association, basically what this is a style of acknowledgement. So this whole handbook is just Modern Language Association put together a style, a method to acknowledge sources. This isn't the only one. I didn't know this, but there is another style that's called Chicago style, and you can look that up on the internet. And it's different. It's actually more useful for doing historical things. So probably next time I teach this, we'll maybe broaden that out just a little bit and possibly even teach another style along with the MLA style. So we'll learn as we go. Your book is all set up to teach you the MLA style. It's not the only style, and in some cases probably not even the best style for what you do. And I know at least some colleges, they will want you to use MLA for some kinds of papers, like for English papers that talk about the humanities, and then for maybe historical things, they would want you to use the Chicago style. And I think there is at least another style that's used for psychology and maybe some of the sciences. So I haven't learned much about that yet. All right, so much for that. Thanks again for all your hard work. I enjoyed so much reading 8th grade's papers, and I'm looking forward to these. I'm convinced they'll be good, and I'm just really looking forward to it. So God bless you. Ask the Lord for help as you're writing, that He would guide your pen and help give you insight. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to try to help you. So thank you.